Right, afternoon everybody. My name is Peter Tricker and I'm going to give you a brief segment on where you go as a researcher or potential researcher to look for information about the study. I'm going to run you through what it's like to work in our secure environment that we've had developed for external research, and then I'm going to address some commonly asked questions actually and provide you with some answers to those. So, firstly, for any researcher looking for information on growing up in New Zealand, I can direct you to our website. We have all of the information available that Caroline and Susan have been referring to. We have information on the study reports, research findings, other reports and publications. Let's wait for the video to catch up. If you're planning on applying for the data, applying for access to the data, we have a dedicated section on the website where you can find all of the questionnaires, all of the forms, all of the data dictionaries, all of that sort of thing that you require as a researcher to apply for the data. Here, for example, we've got the user guide. This user guide that's available right now applies to this current data collection wave. And we've also got an example of the application form that you would be required to fill out. Why do we need this? It's one of the requirements when you're applying for access to our data sets that you attend a workshop or you familiarise yourself with the data. So you guys are lucky, you're attending a workshop today, but if you're unable to do that or you're wanting to refer back to previous data collection waves, then we require that you go to our website, you familiarise yourself with the information on there. You can view the videos of our workshops, such as this one, which is being videoed right now, I've just realised. You attend a workshop, you complete your application. We have an internal process where your application will go through a data access committee who control the guardianship of the study and who has access to the data, and once you receive your approval, we will take you through that onboarding process. Once you've been onboarded, which is signed up, you've signed up to access our data, we will give you access to what we call the remote desktop, remote data access platform. This is this requires a two-step authentication for security purposes. Once you log into it, you'll be confronted with a desktop that looks very much like any other Windows desktop. We're all familiar with this type of layout. You've got your programs down the side. Here, every user will have a shared folder where they'll find all of the data sets that they've been granted access to. The shared folder itself will allow you to collaborate with anybody else who's named in your application, because you can all collaborate with each other, but just not outside of the system. We have a number of packages such as RStudio, Stata. Coming up next will be SPSS, which I think is probably the most popular at this stage. So those are the three packages that are available at the moment for analysts to carry out research with our data sets. There we go. And as an example, I'm able to open SPSS and I'm able to retrieve a data set which I've been granted access to, and now I want to do some analysis. I'm not an analyst, so the only thing I could come up with was a frequency table, but I wanted to... Thanks, colleagues. What I wanted to show you was what do you do with this output? You've been doing some research, you've created some output, now what do I want to do with it? Well, I might want to share it with my colleagues who are also named in the application. We don't have Microsoft products on here, but we have OpenOffice, so there are tools similar to Word and to Excel, which you can use, and you can save your outputs into standard Microsoft formats. I've taken the spreadsheet tool here, and I've pasted my output because I want to share it with my colleagues, and I also want to take that output and write it up. So I can do that by saving it into a folder. I've created a folder here called my outputs. I save my file, whatever I called it, my analysis, I think. There we go. And this is the point where you can choose to save it as a Microsoft file or just keep it in its natural format, which also can be opened with Microsoft Tools, so it doesn't really matter. Bing. There we go. If I want to use that output for any reports that I'm writing up, I can't download it myself, but I can inform Growing Up in New Zealand by contacting Data Access at growingup.co.nz. Your output will be downloaded and it will be compliance checked, and once everything is okay, we will send that to you for further write-up. When you're finished with your sessions, I would recommend that you close all applications because we have a limited number of software licenses, and please log out because we have a limited number of connections. If you don't do that, I will do it for you, and it won't be very, very pleasant for the user. Okay, any questions so far? No? Good. Oops, wrong one. Right. We've had quite a bit of feedback. We've had this system going for a year now, actually, because the first round of CRFs is nearly over. And we have gathered quite a bit of feedback over that time. So I thought I'd address some of those common questions that we've received in this forum. So if we're looking at data access, for example, where do I find information on data access? So that was right back at the beginning of my presentation. All of the information you require is on our website, growingup.co.nz. If you require further information, don't hesitate to get in contact with us. We've got a toll-free number, 0508 Growing Up. I should know that by now, shouldn't I? 476946, I think. Or contact us at dataaccess@growingup.co.nz, and somebody will be there to help you. What do I do when I'm ready to publish? Well, there's a procedure to go through. You need to fill out an application to publish. Once you've done that, send that to Data Access at Growing Up in New Zealand, growingup.co.nz, and that will go to the Data Access Committee for approval. That's usually a 10 working day turnaround, I believe, for an electronic approval on that. What if changes are needed to my application? So, for example, typical changes, I have applicants and I have duration. Often one of those things changes. You need to fill out an amendment form. The amendment form is available on our website, as are all of the other forms. And again, that is submitted to Growing Up in New Zealand, 10 working day turnaround for approval for that process. Right, remote desktop. So we seem to get more feedback on remote desktop. Question number one, how do I get access? Right, once your application has been approved, the person who is responsible for arranging access will be informed. That seems to be me in this case. So we have it's kind of a two-step process to apply for or to be granted access. Everybody who has any business with the University of Auckland must apply for a username. We don't control that, that's a university policy. So we direct you to a website where you can register. It will issue you with a username, usually with either on the spot or within a couple of hours now. It's quite a quick turnaround, it used to be a bit longer. Once you have that information, you need to let me know or let the data access coordinator know, and then we'll take you through the next step to give you access to the remote desktop. Next question, what software is available to do my analyses? As you may recall, back to one of the previous slides, we have RStudio, we have SPSS version 25, I think, and Stata version 15. Plus we have OpenOffice, which is an open source suite of tools for writing and for doing spreadsheet type analyses. Can I use my own packages? So often people using R request the use of their own packages that they've developed elsewhere. We say, of course you can. Just let us know. We will upload that to your environment for you so that you can install it through RStudio. What restrictions are in place on the remote desktop? Not that many, apart from the fact that you can't print from it. There is no internet access, there's no LAN or WAN, so there's no access to your network, and there's no copy and paste off the desktop onto your own environment. The reason for this is to protect the privacy of the participant, and it's also to protect your security and safety when you're doing research too, so that the data sets don't fall into the wrong hands. We're obliged to keep all of the data sets at the University of Auckland, and that's how we manage this process through this system. Can I link to administrative data? The answer is it sort of depends a little bit. If you were paying attention to Susan and Caroline, they mentioned that we can link to other data sets, and through that process we sometimes create derived variables which we include in our data sets that we make available to you, but linkage to third-party data sets, no, not at this stage. How do I get my outputs checked? Is anyone paying attention? No, that's right. It usually involves creating some sort of output. Oh, you had the answer. No? Oh, sorry, I thought you put your hand up. That's right, I'll pick on you later. Once you create your output, let's inform us at dataaccess@growingup.co.nz. We will download your file for you and have it compliance checked. Once everything is okay, we will send your output to you. That's it. Any questions? No? I like that. I think it's time to hand over to Avinash.